Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single from only £1.20, a return from only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back. No, wait, we're going to do it. Let's do it properly. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night Talking Town Extra Time. I am your host, Martin, the Governor Lambert. We've got a very lively show scheduled for you this evening. Number of topics. We've got Ashley Symonds, who's got words for the Cook supporters or doubters. I'm looking forward to hearing what Ashley's going to say on that topic. We've got Portsmouth preview. Cambridge fallout, plenty of that. But I'm really just pleased to sit down and discuss some football with some friends and just forget life for what maybe in the next half an hour to 60 minutes and just pause life, park that over there somewhere off camera and just be with you all and talk about our wonderful football team that maybe isn't as wonderful. And if you're eagle-eyed, as safety guy 20 years, where's your backdrop, Gov? I've been moved again. The good lady was, she is upstairs in the spare room. She's settled, but so I've been moved again, like from pillar to post. So I'm back with this one here. Look, there he is, sports fans, back with the Labrador. He's never looked so happy to see me sit down at a computer. But we start tonight's show with something that's very, very important, and it was brought to my attention by Alex Wilson. So I'll bring Alex Wilson in. I won't make any more time. Alex, you brought this up to me. You messaged me with this, and I thought it was important because Talking Town is really inclusive. It's a platform for all the town fans, regardless of situation, etc. So when you brought it to my attention, I was like, well, we've got to talk about this. We've got to get it spoken about. So just tell the guys and girls at home what in your own way, what the situation is.
Absolutely. First things first, guys, thank you very much for the opportunity you've been able to come on and talk about this. I feel it's really important before we go any further as well, because I think this ties in as well. Just want to send my personal thoughts and well wishes to Sam Morsey after what's been going on the last few days. So, we're with you on that. But the reason I'm here today is to sort of raise some concerns I have being a disabled fan that sits in the North Lower area D4. Don't know if you guys know, but we're talking about the North Stand shop side. Pretty much where they've now put Blue Action. You see all the Blue Action banners. We're directly in front of this.
You got where I sit in the cobble stand to the right. You're to the right of me because I can see your wonderful Talking Town jumper, and it does make my heart jump to see somebody wearing one of our merchandise jumpers. But you're where the club shop is underneath there, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And obviously, I've been there for getting on for probably 15 years now. Ever since they sort of reopened the North Lower. I've been down there. This what I'm about to talk about has never been an issue up until this season. Okay. What we're basically finding is that the guys that sit behind us are being a little bit too boisterous with their mainly with their celebrations. That's where the issue tends to rear its head.
What's been going on? What's been going on when you say boisterous? What does that mean? Are we talking sort of, because I know the old-fashioned limbs.
We've had issues in the past with fans when we score goals. MK it happened. I wasn't there, but I've heard it and I've seen the TV footage. You can quite clearly see what went on. Fans from behind us jumped down into the disabled section and were surging towards the front of the stand to the point where, and I know you've seen this, Gav, because I know we've spoken about it, in the disabled section now, we have to have a line of stewards.
Yeah, I have seen that over the last couple of weeks.
Behind us as fans to stop the fans coming over the barrier down into the front of the stand. But it just moved the problem to where they now surge into the, down the walkways and into the front of the stand that way. I've spoken to the club about it. The club have had some issues with people that shouldn't be in that area being in that area. So my main concern is, look, we don't want anyone to get hurt by either the person jumping over the barrier, and what the guys that are, behind us need to realise, in that section, you've got people that are not neurotypical. So by that, I mean, we've got people on the autism spectrum and things like that, so big shocks and things like that, can really sort of upset them. Someone like myself, I can't move out the way if some 15, 16 stone bloke comes over the barrier from behind me. I have observed members beside me tell these people to maybe be a little bit more, respectful and just kind of watch what they're doing. To which one person I've sat with for nearly 15 years was called a fat. I'm not going to use the word because it's highly offensive, but
it was a slur, right?
It was a slur. It was a slur that is used to be derogatory against someone with a disability, whether that be mental or physical. So
right, okay.
And to my concern is we've been in that stand for 15 years. We've never had an issue with people coming over the barrier. Yet we've had issues with people maybe being a little bit abusive, but that's part of the North Stand. It's never been pointed at us before. So that is worrying. At the end of the day, I don't want to single out any one individual, any one group of individuals, but for me, we're all supporting the same team. We should all be able to be inclusive on the same thing.
Absolutely.
And let me just kind of throw something else out there. This line of stewards stand directly behind me. Fair enough, they move when you ask them to move, but we can't now freely move about in our section because they're there. And
so are you asking for a lot more, just basically a little bit more respect and mindfulness?
What I'm basically asking for is, just anyone sitting in that area, and I know there are issues throughout the ground, so let's not just forward this out, but, just be mindful, guys, that, we're all here for the best time. We all want to be safe. We're all on the same team.
Absolutely.
Let's not fight amongst ourselves, and just be mindful. The guys that sit behind D4, your actions have made people not feel safe in that stand. They have made people want to move so they're not directly in the firing line of it.
Yeah.
And let me just throw a point out there. The guy, we were all talking about the investment and the amount of investment that's gone into the club to make it better. That line of stewards that are behind us to keep us safe, because people can't be trusted not to jump over the barrier, are costing the club £500,000, give or take, to put in place. Come on, we've never had this issue.
Much?
£500,000 is the figure that I've been told. We're all on the same.
What Steve Kirby says here is partially right. Then Phoenix security costs us nearly 5 figures some every game as they come from London.
Yeah,
such a shame to pay. And then Lee Bayliss, in classic Lee fashion, Phoenix security. Who is it? Max and Paddy.
Yeah, and to be honest, it is a little bit like that, because Phoenix security, bless them, they've been brought in to do a job, but they're high-fiving the guys and have the guys that they're supposed to be sort of watching and having an absolute whale of a time, so it's sort of like you're not really doing the job you're supposed to do. And all I really want people to do. You know, I don't want major change or anything like that because
Okay.
we need to get the atmosphere up. But what I do want is people to just maybe think about how their actions are going to impact those, you know, around them. You know, let's just be mindful that, you know, we've all had 18 months about football. We've all had, you know, to go through the same thing over the last 2 years. Let's not get to a point where people are intimidated or scared to come into the North Stand because they're fearful of getting hurt. So all I ask, guys, is just please be mindful about those sitting around you. We can all have a good time. We can all have banter. But at the end of the day, your actions directly have actions on those around you. So please just think about everyone around you and let's enjoy this journey, wherever it ends up. Because let's face it, we're not in the place where we thought we'd be at this point in the season, which we'll discuss later.
Absolutely,
let's just enjoy this journey together, and let's all, you know, we're all on the same team. Let's just come together.
And I take it you've gone to the club. That's where the stewards have come from, right? That's the club's response is the stewards.
Yeah, the club's response is the stewards. I'm sorry, I'm not potentially wording this there well. I do apologise, guys.
No, you're fine.
I've spoken to Lee Smith, who has been amazing. Who is the club disability liaison officer?
He is, yeah.
Who has taken all the feedback on board, has facilitated the moves for people that want to move. You know, but this is above him. You know, this is above his pay grade. You know, the only way this is going to improve is everyone pulls together, because he can't. All he can do is put the feedback in. But what I want you to do, guys, if you see this and you don't agree with it, report it, talk about it, get it into the club, because things are only going to change if everyone reports it and everyone comes together on this. And like I say, you know, we're all in the same boat together. We're all praying. We all want the same outcome. We all want to be able to enjoy our football.
100%.
But let's not have a situation where the people that have been in, and this is another point I'm going to raise, sorry, people that are having to move their seats have been in these seats for 10, 15 years. Steve Kirby down there has literally sat beside me for 15 years.
Yeah.
And he's had to move in front of me because him and his mum don't feel safe.
Yeah. That's not on. That's not on, you know, and I'm sure Steve might mind me saying, but the person that had the comment put at them earlier on that I referred to was Steve. You know, Steve has been at that ground for probably more years than me, more years than I care to think about. You know, at the end of the day, do we really want to be the club that is fighting amongst our own fans? No, we don't. So, you know, at the end of the day, guys, all I'm asking is just please be respectful of those around you. We're all there for the good day out, you know, and please, if you do see anything, report it, put it into the club, put it into the tick office, and let's get the North Stand back to, you know, how it used to be, where we're all in it together, we're all pulling the same way, and people aren't having to be scared about if we score a goal, are they going to come over the barrier, or am I going to get hurt? You know, that shouldn't be what it's about, because at the end of the day, for me personally, we score a goal and that's good, but my instant thing goes to behind me, where are they coming from? Yeah, Alex, I'm just looking at this screen. It says one club, one community on this screen, and that's because that's what we are supposed to be: one club and one community, and that's all of us, not a little bit of us, not the majority of us, all of us. We are all one club, one community, and respect is a big thing that we're perhaps missing a little bit at the moment. And I'm really heartbroken to hear this has been going on with yourself, with Steve, and the rest of you. And D4 is the official title of the section.
Yeah, D4.
Yeah. So hopefully, you know, this will improve moving forward. You've raised it really articulately well and really respectfully to yourselves and other people. And lots of support in the chat for you, Alex. You know, the good doctor says, Alex, one club, mate. We're all together and should be. And then so yeah, let Alex. We'll monitor it. We'll continue to keep an eye on it. But you've raised it really well. And let's hope Saturday when I see you after the game for the post-game show, you can tell me it was a great day. We won 5-0 and everyone got on. Yeah.
Let's not run before we can walk. Let's get to 2-0, shall we? Let's not throw a lead away.
Deal. I appreciate you coming on.
All right, thank you, mate. Thanks for the opportunity.
I'll speak soon. Look after yourself.
Take care. See you later.
Mr. George Nunn, the designer,
Hi.
welcome in. That's one of the reasons why I was so hell-bent on getting this show done tonight, because it's such an important topic that Alex brought to me via Facebook Messenger and said, "Look, I need to raise this awareness." And as I said, one club, one community. We're one, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly why I wrote that. I think that's. I mean, there's all sorts of ways of interpreting it, and they're all perfectly relevant, and lots of them are more valid than I'd like them to be at the moment, especially over the last few days. But yeah, I think Alex put that really well. And my one issue with what he said was that we need to get to 2-0 on Saturday. It's clearly 2-0's not enough, is it?
No, yeah, clearly it needs to be 3 or 4 or 5, as I was saying. Obviously, you were at the Cambridge game. It was an honour to see you. How from your perspective, how was the fans in the crowd? Because obviously a lot has been spoken about in terms of the fans' behaviour. I know over the last couple of days, including Saturday. So, from your perspective in the terraces, how was it? Was it well policed, well managed, respectful, etc.?
Yeah, from what I saw, it was largely respectful. One quick note: they oversold it horrifically.
They did in ours as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like there were at least 200 or 300 people in there that wouldn't fit. So some of it was brought upon themselves in terms of people being in gangways and stuff. I'm not trying to excuse any of the behaviour that supposedly went on. Thankfully, I didn't see any of it. I was very well looked after by Mr. Cruncher and the goat all afternoon.
Well, there you go. There you go. What such great royalty looking after you. But yeah, it's funny to say that, because we had a whole section in the seated part taped off, and then suddenly 2 minutes to kick off, someone came along, ripped the tape off, and literally a whole section of fans appeared out of absolutely nowhere.
I think they moved some. I think they moved some because there was obviously kids and stuff and shout out to Cruncher's kids. Like they dealt with it amazingly well, given that it was so busy in there. But yeah, I think a lot of parents were feeling uncomfortable with their kids being in there. So some were moved along the pitch, and I assume into your stand before kickoff. So yeah, I don't think they dealt with that too well in terms of the numbers that were let in, but it's probably the most level.
It was an afternoon of not dealing with things well. And let's complete our lineup before we get into how well or how we didn't handle Cambridge too well. Joining us today, making his final appearance for introduction, it is of course a man that you may well know for his catchphrase, which escapes me at this vital and important moment. But I think it's something along the lines of, come on. Am I right?
I couldn't even remember that then. So,
in my head, I'm hearing, do it. I'd have my head, I don't actually know what it is. Well, it was come on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. And it wasn't a catchphrase. It was just like, how do I end this? Do you know what I mean? What do I say?
I know those bits very well, my man. I know those bits very well. It is, of course, Ashley Symonds. Ashley, welcome back. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Quite fresh, to be honest. Unlike maybe you two guys, I haven't seen much of Ipswich Town recently. And I come here with a level head, I think.
You do. And you asked to have something added to the talking points this evening, and that was you have words for the Cook. Is it the Cook outers you have words for?
Yeah, I don't understand this movement at the moment. I think is probably the best way to go. Okay. Yeah, I might be sitting on a high horse here and saying, it's the last episode of Ipswich Town I saw was the 6-0 win against Doncaster.
Things have changed since then, my man. Believe me.
And to be honest, either side of that result, we didn't do too well. What did we do? We played Accrington Stanley after that one, lost that one. Drew 1-1 with Sheffield Wednesday before that. We've had some disappointing results, but I don't think we want to be getting rid of our manager right now. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think that's...
George? I'm just the host. Yeah. I'm the segue man. I'm the come on man. That's all
these conversations between shows, and then suddenly you become the host. I don't know. I'm really struggling to not teeter off of the fence at the moment. So I really hate this sort of cook in, cook out thing. I just haven't seen. I've been calling for consistency, and we're just consistently inconsistent, and I hate it. And I find it really frustrating. Saturday, I'd love to say we didn't see it coming from an absolute mile off, but I think people saw it coming from a mile off. It was really weird. We came out 5 minutes early after half time, and then we didn't start playing football for 15 minutes. We might as well have stayed in the dressing room. I'm not sure that we're not sure we really caught up at any point. But what it is, the only thing I can imagine can assume is that Cook is saying something to them at half time, like, stop with all of this expansive nonsense and just don't give away 2 goals. And we're not a team, we're not a squad of players who have been put together to sit back as deep as we did for 50 minutes on Saturday afternoon. And I can't hold anyone responsible other than Paul Cook. And I wrote down something that Luco came out the other day and said I wanted to show the manager that I can contribute, and instantly went through my head was, well, when's the manager going to show he can contribute?
Oh, but that's a zinger. That's a KFC line, that one, my man.
I'm not trying to be clever about it, but that's I shouldn't be thinking like that about our manager, right? And I want Paul Cook to succeed more than anyone. I have no personal issues with Paul Cook. I don't see it. I had some issues with Lambert and that were beyond the football side of it. But I'm struggling at the moment. I'm really struggling.
Good points there. Do you want to know when the manager's going to start contributing? Symonds, back to you.
My question is, how does a manager contribute? Is he playing the wrong players? Because as far as I'm concerned, I think he's putting out the best 11 from time to time. Actually, I'd argue the Cambridge game wasn't our best 11. And ironically, Sonny Aluko, the only player that shouldn't have been in that starting lineup, was the only player to even, show some kind of interest in the game. There are a number of players that are in there and I think deserve to be in there and very much in my starting 11. Is he bringing on the wrong players at the wrong times? Is he bringing on too many attacking players? Is he bringing on too many defensive players at times? I don't think he's playing the wrong players. I think he's got the staff. I just don't think, we're well past the gelling stage now. We should be kicking on. And you might say a 2-2 draw against Cambridge is a poor result, but we're allowing ourselves to be bullied by every single team that's fighting for points in this division. And I think that's the important part. We need to be a bit more, I don't know, a bit tougher at the back. Essentially, we're just letting in too many goals. And
does it concern you, Ash, when the manager comes out post game and says things like, "I'm not ever gonna shut up shop"?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
All right. Look, let's take Paul Lambert for example. He's a guy who was shutting up shop full time.
I can take Lambert. Yeah.
We didn't concede too many goals, but we didn't score any, and that was the issue. Now we're scoring goals. We can't keep them out the other end. I think it's trying to find a happy medium. Like, I'm happy as long as Ipswich Town are putting the ball in the back of the net, because surely that's all we want. Yeah. At the end of the day, if we get 3 points, that's a bonus, because at this moment in time, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, I think.
Okay. Lots of comments coming in. Mark Tuxford, unsurprisingly, Ashley Symonds bang on the money. I don't know if you've paid him yet or not, or if there's going to be more of these coming. Payroll, yeah. More of these coming through as the evening unfolds. Simon Harris, though not in the same. Although interestingly enough, he didn't want the 18th when I offered it to him to try and get the double act back together. He didn't want that. Yeah, he turned that one down. Yeah, he was. Oh no, uncommitted. He was, I don't know who's on. Symonds, not me, not for me. I joke. He didn't know who you were on, but he did say no. Lewis Robinson, for whatever reason, players seem to take their foot off the gas, truly believe in their own hype. Mark Gurling, frustration is clear, but we are seeing progress. Baby steps. Ben Moore, Cook is a good manager at Wigan, a lesser club than us. He's at his biggest club he'll ever get. It is too much pressure. Is he thinking as a fan should have got Toto on against Cambridge?
Oh,
George.
God, no, God forbid.
Symonds.
That bloke.
You're not a Toto fan.
He's horrendous. He's one of the worst defenders I've ever seen. consistently gives away fouls in the box, always giving away cheap goals. I mean, if there's a defender you don't want to be playing, it's Toto Enciala at times. But, he's got a huge following as well. I think it's really strange. And this is another thing, like players seem to get a bigger following for whatever reason. And then, as soon as it turns into muds, then everyone's on their back. Norwood, for example, big one. He had a huge fan base when he came in. Now look at him. Players seem to feed off of the positive energy for so long. And then, it starts getting, too much for them. And I think as Ipswich Town fans, we're obsessed. We're absolutely obsessed with our football club. But I don't think League One can handle our obsession. Do you know what I mean? I think we're just too much sometimes. And I think the players can't handle it.
George, respond back to that. That's a great line. I'm going to write that down very quickly. I love that line.
Going back to what Ash said before, that's what the manager's there to do. I don't think he's playing the wrong 11, but his one job isn't to put out the right 11 and say, go play football, because any of us could do that. Most of us could get, a good 11 out of that squad, I would have thought. But it feels like there's just something missing in the leadership at the moment. And if the players can't hack it for whatever reason, if there's a mental block going on, it's his job to not necessarily fix it, but at least recognize it and bring the people in that can fix it. And I'm just not seeing enough of it. We didn't play. I get him saying, I'm not going to shut up shop. And that's great. But we didn't keep attacking them on Saturday. I saw people saying that we should have seen the game out on Saturday. We shouldn't. After the first 30 minutes, we should have gone for the jugular and killed them off. We should have had 3-4 goals, and we shouldn't have been ashamed of trying to get them. Cambridge looked like nothing. And they didn't get better. They didn't get better in 90 minutes, but we got progressively worse as we sat back and back and back on a 2-0 lead. And then when it became 2-1, we looked terrified. And the leadership team has to take responsibility for that, not just the players, because that's literally the entire responsibility of the leadership team. Send the right players out in the right condition, physically and mentally, to play and win games. That's all I want to see. And whether they shut up shop when they're 2-0 up, fine, but then do it and shut up shop and defend properly. But we didn't do that on Saturday.
I just want to say there, George is absolutely right there. I'm just looking at the stats here real quick. Did you know since October 2020, we've only scored more than 3 goals on 3 occasions?
Wow.
In those 3 occasions, we've won every game. Obviously, if you score 3 goals, you've won the game. But we've only done that 3 times in nearly 2 years. Well, that's 1 year now, isn't it? Sorry. So, yeah, sorry. But that's just not good enough. We're not finishing teams off. Obviously, we've had poor run of form with Lambert and we couldn't score goals. But now we're scoring goals. We should be absolutely burying teams. And like George says there, we should be taking advantage of teams when they're at their weakest. Why are we shutting up shop at 2-0? It went in at half time at 2-1, which I was surprised about, to be honest, because it seems like we, pretty much owned the first half. So why are we letting them back in the game?
No, we really did. And then a lot has been made of those. You talk about, letting teams back in the game, but a lot has been made of the substitutions, Ash and George. And maybe I'll start with George because yourself was at the game. You had Burns coming on for Luco, who had run his race at that point, and, it was a substitution I think anyone and everyone would have made who supports Town. You had Selena coming in for Chaplin, and then you had Edwards eventually coming on for Fraser. Are those substitutions that you would have made yourself, George, or would you have looked at the way we were playing, based on what Ashley said there about not killing teams off, what Cooks is about not shutting up shop? Did you see anything, or just a like for like hope it's a bit of fresh legs going to work situation, a bit like a hope and pray?
Well, Colin Crunch and I talked about this at the time, and the first 2 subs were pretty much the 2 subs that Crunch and I called, and I think they were what was needed. And if the problem was just the fact that we had lost our legs a little bit and then we were going to start attacking again like we did in the first half, then they're absolutely the right subs to have made. And that's my problem with it, is that I don't think the squad is made for sitting back like we did on Saturday anyway. But and we didn't shut up shop. We just drifted back. Let's be clear. Like we didn't suddenly look solid in defence. We weren't playing 8 behind the ball like Cambridge were for large parts of it. We literally just drifted back. And those subs that were made were the right subs. Again, like the team might have been the right 11. They were the right subs, but whatever they were told and whatever they were doing on the pitch was not right. They came on and just played exactly the same level of football to exactly the same plan is what it looked like to me.
We've got Lewis Robertson. We've dropped 15 points from winning positions. We only have 14 points in total, fully behind Cook, but that demonstrates a lack of mental strength, Ash. And you've obviously put in the comment that you agreed with that. What makes you agree with Lewis's comment?
Yeah, that's completely correct. You know, if we're dropping points, then we are in a position where we need to do better. But that shows that we're in the right positions. I think, you know, we've lost the points, but we can certainly pick them up again. I think where we're on, 12, 13 games now?
Yes.
We've still got a large proportion of the season left. We can still realistically make 100 points. So, you know what? You know, we just got to be positive.
Fucking hell. There's positive.
Mathematically.
And then there's positives. I mean, if you believe certain adverts, if you feed a pig Red Bull, you'll see it fucking fly. It don't mean you're actually going to see it fly over someone's house. Well, I love that. I love it, Ash. That's a Melons type comment. That is bang on the table. 100 points is still on. Lee Anderson is laughing as well. Duncan, listening to Ash Symonds, we have all of our opinions on selection and management. I'd like to hear the facts why fans shouldn't be on the man who chooses the tactics. Ash, show me the bright side.
Okay. I've got a point, 1 point on that. Yeah, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely correct that, you know, why shouldn't we be on his back? But I think, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years, especially, we've tried and failed multiple times. We're not giving managers enough time to settle down. Too much pressure. Too right. Some of the managers we have had are absolutely drastic. You know, that Lambert tenure was almost that nearly drove me out. I didn't want to watch Ipswich anymore. And I think that's the same for everyone else. If you look at the crowds now, we're bringing in 19,000 consistently, which is an amazing number considering how long we've been in League One now. And everyone seems to be on board for this. I think, you know, given the transfer window we've just had, it is going to be lumpy for a while. But I think we're going to find some consistency in the next 10 games and we are really going to kick on. And I think that's worth putting your money on.
Okay. George, is it worth putting your money on? If you're a betting man, would you be rushing out and putting money on it?
Money on us at the moment. I've been waiting for the consistency to happen for too long. I genuinely hope that it does, and I hope that in the next 10 games we go on some barnstorming run. But I wouldn't put money on us at the moment. I just, it's not worth it.
I needed this tonight. This is great. Great. This is release.
Yeah.
This is great. This is a great release. I love it. It's what I needed. Lee Tennant, we need to change the management sooner rather than later. We need a manager who has played under technical manager in his playing career and have new ideas to inject in the squad. John Terry for Lee. John Terry. Stephen Parry, is it going to help? We need consistency. We won't get that changing manager month after month. Lewis, people can't say our games are not entertaining given what we have been through. Some entertainment is welcomed. Morsey couldn't believe that Graham player whacking the ball out of the ground and said he had never seen that before. If we'd done that at 2-1, we may now have 3 points instead of 1. Graham Tate asked earlier in the show, Ash, have we got a goalkeeping problem? Do you think we've got a goalkeeping problem at Portman Road?
Yeah. My opinion of, I've got a strong opinion of goalkeepers. I don't think we face enough shots. I find that when these goals go in, it seems to be either directly from a set piece or a counter attack, and I don't think our keepers are prepared for the efforts that are coming in. And
do you think mentally they're switching off because they're not busy enough? Is that what you mean?
They're not busy enough. They've got ironically, we have got a good back four, and we have had in previous years. I think it's a problem we've had. We just don't seem to be. It's like a Burnley keeper getting into the England squad. You know, you face a lot of shots, you become a good goalkeeper. The same can't be said for a top side who play with a good defence and have, you know, an equally good goalkeeper. It doesn't work like that. So I think we do have a goalkeeping problem. I think you could put anyone in between the sticks. You'll still have the same problems. So it's how we overcome that going forwards. And that is as a unit in front of goal.
George, goalkeeper problem. Did you agree with Ash there in the sense of it may be a mental issue because they're switching off, they're losing focus, losing concentration because they're not busy enough? We know that can happen. goalkeepers can get caught cold, as it were, because for a large part, even though we weren't in the game, Hladky was watching that most of that game. He had one save to make in the second half that springs out to me. The rest, he was like me and you, just watching it. Is a little bit what Ash says there true?
Yeah, I think so. I think there probably is a mental issue going on there, but I don't think there's an excuse for it. I think he should have goalkeepers playing for successful teams have large spells of time when they aren't needed. That's not new for a goalkeeper. And I mean, I don't know how his season was at Salford last year in terms of how much he was used, but he
was their number one goalkeeper.
In terms of how much he was needed while he was playing. I mean,
that's what I've said previously.
So whether this is new to him, whether he's used to just constantly being barraged with shots, but again, Ash says it's something that they need to be working on. If that is a problem, I'm sure they're as capable as us of spotting it, and they just need to be working on it. He needs to be fixing it. Being a goalkeeper, being a professional footballer is not just about being good at football, right? They need to sort these mental issues out if they're there. So whatever that is, whoever's going to be responsible for it, they need to get the ducks in a row.
Mike D, you could put anyone within sticks, Ash, just as long as it's not fucking holy. Mark Dowling, good point about goalkeepers. Lee Tennant, I noticed a few heads shaking when I said John Terry. To the panel, who would you like to say to replace Cook? It's going that way. I'll give you to the end of the show to think on that one, gentlemen. I'll ask you at the end of the show, back on Lee's question. So you've got, a fair few minutes there. Legacy based. We're not highlighting the negativity though. It's a motivation to do well. Callie, good evening. Mark Dowling. I don't believe for a second we've got our first choice goalkeeper in. Mike D, put the Alf Ramsey statue in goal. Colin Plum, what's happening with Norwood? No idea. But I see he has deleted his Twitter account. That I can tell you. So get thinking on Lee's question. I'm going to write it down so don't forget. Lee's question, end of the show. You mentioned our back four there, Ash. Pretty good. Burgess, though, hasn't had a good couple of weeks. Do you feel it's time that he maybe was, put on the bench, rested a little bit, made way for, say, Toto or Wolfie, or just stick with the Burgess and Edmondson combination and give it a couple of more weeks if you can afford to, if you pull Cook?
Interesting question. So Burgess's form is something that obviously I haven't witnessed, which some of you guys might be able to share a bit more on. But yeah, from a Paul Cook point of view, I don't think he would drop Burgess. Burgess is in there specifically for that balance, a left-footed centre-half, something we don't have in the club at all. So who do you replace him with? Do you bring in Wolfenden? Wolfenden's been exiled. He'll be my first choice out of the other options. You've got Elkin Baggett as well. He's in there. That's left-footed as well. Does he get a chance to come in? He's not going to get one over the likes of Toto and Wolfenden, but I'd argue if you're going to drop Burgess, then you've got to bring in someone who's equally as strong or maybe stronger. And I don't think we have that at the moment.
No, it's true. Obviously, Ash, as he's quite honestly and truthfully said, can't sort of comment last couple of weeks. But George, you saw him on Saturday. I still say he was fouled for the first, but many will say he needs to be stronger. Accrington Stanley, many will say he wasn't at the races. Last couple of weeks, he's looked not the Burgess we brought in. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh. How do you see it?
Firstly, I thought it was a foul in the lead up to the second goal, but that wasn't the reason for the goal.
Thank you. Somebody else.
Crunch disagreed, but yeah, I thought it looked a foul to me, but that wasn't the failing for the goal. Let's be honest.
No.
My opinion on Saturday was that he was playing two positions. He was playing his position, and for a large part of it, he was covering for Penny. Not just because Penny likes to get forward and leaves himself a little bit open, but there was a couple of times. There was one time in the second half where the ball, I think it popped up from a corner, and Penny looked up at it and then took two massive steps back and shouted "your ball" to no one, and the ball bounced in front of him. And it was terrifying that a defender would act like that. And I think Burgess, my thought on Burgess is that I think he and Edmondson would probably be a good centre half pairing, but at the moment, the left-back spot looks weak to me. And I liked Penny from what I saw of him early on in the season. And he looks a good player going forward, but he looks a weak link in that back four.
It's interesting you say that, because obviously since maybe Burgess's drop off in form has come in at the same time that Coulson has also been injured. So maybe that is a direct correlation. Maybe the two just aren't a partnership yet, or can't work together. You get that sometimes, Ash, don't you? Some players, they can be really good individual players, but as a pair, as a unit, as a partnership, they just don't work for whatever reason.
No, you're right. We've had that plenty of times in the past, but interesting what you say about Penny there, and Coulson as well. We've seen Coulson for 2-3 games this season, and we've had Penny play 10 times. He's very good going forwards, and at time he can put in some really, really good balls. The same could be said for Burgess. They're very much similar players, but the argument there, and I have to agree with George, is from a defensive point of view, are we leaving ourselves a bit short? And if you look at some of the goals we conceded this season, albeit most of them have been set pieces, you look at the ones that have come, they have come down the left-hand side. And I don't want to criticise Penny, because I actually do like him as a player. But he has to take some criticism. And I think, the likelihood of Coulson coming straight in when he is fit is very high at this moment in time.
Absolutely. Lee Anderson, it's not Penny's fault. Burgess got bullied by Ironside. You say bullied, I say fouled. I say fouled. Me and George will say fouled, won't we, George?
Yeah, I was not a big fan of Ironside on Saturday, but fair play to him. He got his goal.
Made him look like
85 minutes that game.
Ronaldo, didn't we?
Reminded me of Grant Holt.
See, I thought we made him at times look like peak 1996 not Cristiano, the other Ronaldo. Lewis Robertson. Coulson has been unlucky with injuries, but at what point do we say he's unreliable? Best ability is, of course, as I always say, Lewis, availability. Craig at Portsmouth, please don't pick Toto at Fratton Park. On the day I saw Lambert take him off in the first half, there a couple of seasons ago, I wish he never played for us again. Well, he's on the bench ahead of Wolfie, so maybe that's the next in line. I don't know. Scott Fraser, another player that's often been or has recently been spoken about a lot. I gave him a 4 on my match ratings at the weekend. I'd like to hear both your thoughts on him, first of all, as a left winger, and then secondly, his current contribution to the team. George, I'll start with you. Was a 4 a fair result, a fair score?
I like Fraser. No, I think that's a bit harsh. I thought he wasn't forced to suggest to me that he didn't bring anything to the game, but I thought he had moments on Saturday, but he's not a winger. I don't understand why we're not playing at number 10. I really don't. I like Chaplin as a footballer, a bit like Penny. I really like Chaplin as a footballer. He looks great. He's full of energy. Just doesn't quite look like he fits into the number 10. A lot of it goes over his head, with the greatest respect to him. But I think Fraser is overdue a run at number 10, and Chaplin hasn't convinced me at number 10. So just bloody playing him there. And this was the shout for the subs at the weekend from me was the second one is exactly what I would have done, but I'd have put Selena on the wing and put Fraser at number 10.
Okay. Ash, George's thoughts there. What about yourself?
Very much agree with what George is saying there. Scott Fraser is our most played outfielder this season.
Wow.
He's played more appearances than anybody, more minutes. I think we're still trying to find a home for him. You asked us for our opinions on the starting lineup tomorrow night, and I don't think I found him a position. I might have. I might have found him a position in number 10. And I'll tell you why. Because Scott Fraser does a lot of things that a lot of players don't do. He grafts a lot. He puts the balls in the right places, and he could pick a pass out from absolutely nothing. And I think he doesn't get any credit because people aren't looking at him. They're looking at the goal scorer. They're looking at the people that are running around him. You could argue that the likes of Connor Chaplin is a worthy number 10. He's got the figures. He's come in. He's played in the cup games. He's come into league games, and in the last 5 or 6 games, he's played, a heavy part in some victories and winning some points with some vital goals and assists. But I think Scott Fraser's got a bigger part to play. I think he could be a consistently good player for us if we play him in the right position. And like you say, in that number 10, if he actually got a run, I think we could, do better.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with absolutely both of you. And I think had Fraser played in the number 10 role Saturday, he'd have got a lot higher than a 4 from me. But I had to judge him on his left wing contributions because that's where he is officially being played, and he does come inside, but we're almost cutting. Well, no, we're not almost doing it. We are doing it. We're cutting off half the field to a player like Scott Fraser. I've seen people tweet over the weekend that he's playing left wing, but he can come inside and he spends a lot of his time tucked in. Yeah, but we're cutting off half the field, and he's a really intricate, tidy player. And Ash, and as you say, Ash and George, I'll ask you on this one. When Fraser has the ball, you do expect things to happen, don't you? Because things generally do.
Yep. In that first game when he and Selena played together, some of the interplay between them, there was only flashes of it, but the flashes were just phenomenal. And I think I said at the time, I think I said it at the time, but you just like your mouth, like your jaw drops at it, especially in League One. But they just gave glimpses of it, so I think he deserves to play. But at the moment, I think he deserves a shot in the position that we all know that he's best in.
Do you think Cookie's playing? Sorry, do you think Cookie's playing two players out of position there? Because I don't remember seeing Selena play centrally under Big Mick. That was always Dids' position. For me, it would make more sense to play Selena out wide on the left, play Fraser in behind Bond or whoever you want to play, but it'd be Bond at this point in time, and Burns or Luca or whoever. Surely, so is it two players he's being played out position then?
I think we've got a bit of a dilemma on that side, purely because I'm looking at Doncaster's starting 11 here, and we're quite right. Selena was playing behind Bon, apparently, and Fraser was playing out left. But if memory serves me correctly, those two were interchanging.
He swapped them halfway through.
Yeah, and when they're not there, Penny is coming up the field. And I think that's where our point of attack is. We're very heavy on the left-hand side. And if you remember back to Doncaster, Wes Burns hardly touched the ball in the second half. He came off because there was just no service on the right-hand side. I think, we're playing to our strengths. We are very strong on the left-hand side, delivery-wise as well, putting balls in the box. Can we, counteract with that? I think, I've submitted my squad for tomorrow night, but I think we're going to play the exact same 11 as what we did against Doncaster when we won 6-0 at home. And I think we will get a win, boldly. I'm going to say we're going to get a win. But I think those two players, Selena and Fraser, when they play together, we're a completely different side.
Yeah, I agree with that. Before we come on to tomorrow night's look ahead then, we have got the Prediction League all ready for you. Week 11, would you believe? Link is now in the chat. It will be in the description as well. It'll be on Twitter. This week's predictions are Ipswich Town versus Fleetwood versus Colchester, Shrewsbury versus Cambridge, and Chelsea versus Norwich. Ash, I loved your Chelsea-Norwich prediction. Please do tell the people at home what you've gone for this week for that fantastic game.
Yeah, well, so obviously everyone knows that Norwich are the worst goal scorers in Premier League at the moment. And Chelsea seem to be, one of those teams that are firing up the top of the table. So I'm going to go for a 5-0 this week.
5-0. Yeah, to Chelsea. Just you didn't need to clarify that bit because I don't think anybody, man, woman, child, anyone alive, felt you would have gone.
Did you hear that Norwich couldn't sell 3,000 tickets for Stamford Bridge? How embarrassing is that?
Oh, it is. It's really embarrassing. Did you see Josh Sargent, their new striker, score? Was it miss an open goal? Was it or?
And after he missed it, they clapped him. They were like, "Well done."
And they call us the happy clapping support, clapping relegation. But yeah, unbelievable is the word. League table, before I come to you yourself, George, is currently Rob Smith, Mike Woods, Davis, Trevor, and Taylor Poole are leading the way. Everyone down to Damien Knight is currently in the top 10 because obviously 12, you're on the same points, so you counted inside the top 10. You are currently in position to win or have a chance of winning FM 22. Here is table number 2. Lots of people on 3s, as you can see. A lot of people on 6s. Still lots and lots of points to be played. Matt Phillips right at the end there. Big fat 0. Bless his little cotton socks. George, now you both said throughout the course of the day, if we score more than 3, we'll win the game. Well, funnily enough, you've both gone for a very similar scoreline here. But Ipswich Town versus Fleetwood, you've gone for 3-0, George.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
3 goals, a clean sheet, and not a capitulation. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many pigs flying have we got going on here? What's 3-0?
But that's our inconsistency at the moment, isn't it? we'll win. We'll win well. We'll win with a clean sheet, and then next week we'll lose 1-0, and it'll be damn frustrating. And then we'll be 2 up in a game, and we'll draw 2-2, and we go round and round this.
Lewis Robinson, £10 super sticker. Sorry, I've just clicked on the main screen back from the Prediction League and seen £10. Lewis, thank you very much, my brother. Appreciate that. But yes, George, you are right. We are inconsistent. So that brings us on to tomorrow night. We've got to get through that one first. That's the hurdle. Some are saying it's a must-win for Cookie. Some are saying it's a mustn't get beat game for Cookie. What is your thinking on it, Ash? Is it a game where you would take a point right now, Providence in the Mick McCarthy style? Is it a game we can't afford to lose? Is it a game we can't afford not to win? Where are you on it, Mr. Symonds?
Not bothered either way, to be honest. Are we going in for I don't want to draw. I hate draws. We've had 4 Desmond Tutus this season already. I don't want another draw. I don't want to lose, obviously. We owe Portsmouth 1. We owe them too many, to be honest. So if we could go there tomorrow night and get a result, that'd be brilliant. But realistically, they're having the same start to the season as us. But we're more, I would say, we're up the line a bit more in the sense we've got some good players. We've got players in form in areas. I'd like to go down to Fratton Park tomorrow night and actually get 3 points. Whether that's realistic or not, I don't think so.
Do you not think so? I'll come to your score prediction in a bit. George, that 3 options there for you. Mustn't lose, must win. What
are our last 5 results against Portsmouth?
Well, I have a wonderful graphic here designed by somebody fantastically great at designing graphics. Let me just grab it for you. Last 5 against Portsmouth are all big, fat, red L's. Lost 2-1 in 2021. Lost 2-0. Obviously, Cookie was in charge for 2-1 defeat. Lost 2-0. Lost 3-2 in the FA Cup. Lost 1-0 in the league, and then lost 2-1. So we've not won in the last 5. In fact, I was talking to Cruncher and Matt on the way to the FCAs last week. They couldn't remember too many wins, and the wins they could remember were a long time in the past. So yeah, not great place for Town to go. So on that basis, would you take a point right now if I said to you, look, don't bother getting on the bus. Here's a point. Just watch EastEnders instead.
No, I wouldn't. But I want to see us play like we're going to win. That's all I want to do, because we didn't do it on Saturday. I'd have if we'd played like we were going to win for 90 minutes on Saturday and we'd drawn 2-2, it would have been a tough take, but I'd have taken it.
So you want to see a complete performance, a full 0 to 90-minute performance.
That's it for me at the moment. It's not about results. I mean, obviously the results will be great, and I don't want to be writing off a season before Christmas, but it's not about the results. It's about showing consistently good performances, and we're not doing it. So if we play our socks off tomorrow night and we lose 1-0, and everyone comes away going, "How the did that happen?" Fine. Honestly.
Okay.
Pompey are struggling for form at the moment.
They are.
Conceded 10 in the last 5 games. You know, something that we're not too shy about, but you know, we can definitely score goals. Do you know what? I reckon it's going to be loads of goals tomorrow night. It's going to be another Portsmouth v Reading. Can you remember that? What was it, 7-5?
Yeah. In that case, Ash, get money on 0-0. Now you've said that. Absolutely. Guarantee goals. It'll be a 0-0 Aaron-driven affair. But you are right. Portsmouth haven't started well at all. In fact, they got hammered, didn't they, last game? 4-1 Saturday?
4-1, yeah. Rotherham.
Yeah, but Rotherham are a decent side. But that's the side we should be looking, you know, that's the level we should be looking to really be competing at. And, you know, the fact we're saying...
we went to Lincoln. We went to Lincoln and got 3 points. If we can go there, you know... and
we can go anywhere.
We can certainly go to Pompey and get 3 points, definitely.
Well, okay. This is the team you've chosen to lead the line tomorrow. Haladki, the Don, Edmondson, Burgess, Penny, Evans, Morsey, Fraser, Burns, Bond, and Selena. So we talk about Selena and Fraser, so I'll go straight to Burns here in this respect, Ash, because obviously Sonny Aluka came in, grabbed 2 goals, had a tidy 60 minutes, but you've hooked him. You've said great contribution, but not good enough, Sonny. The Burns is back in, really.
Aluka doesn't make any of my starting lineups. Doesn't matter. I'm sure you all seen my tweet from before the game on Saturday saying, "Yeah, definite loss now that we've got Aluka starting," and then he scores 2 goals literally 20 minutes later. So
Those sort of things are normally reserved for me, Ash. That's normally reserved for me on Twitter.
He's not a starter for me. Left-footed on the right-hand side. He's had more chances than a number of players coming on. He's come on in virtually every game he's been on the bench, I think, and he's not done anything. So, you know, the outlier, which was his Cambridge performance, could he consistently do that? Maybe he'll give him a chance tomorrow night. But can I see that over, you know, Wes Burns? Don't think so. Wes Burns is such a good player. Why is he on the bench? You know, behind Aluko. Obviously, Aluko's just scored 2 goals. You know, I'm questioning why Aluko's getting a start over Burns. Is it a one-off? I don't know. We'll see.
George, what do you think about Burns over Aluko again?
Well, it's a really tough call. You're about to show mine, I expect, but I put Aluko in for me. But that comes down to whether he's fit enough, which I suspect he might not be. And after how completely just done he looked on Saturday, but yeah, it's a no-brainer. If he's not fit, then Burns comes in. But I think I wouldn't be too disappointed if Burns comes in. I suspect he might be if he is fit. But he looked really good and he has looked progressively more impressive for me when he's played. But yeah, on Saturday he looked like old school Sonny Aluko.
Okay, we've got a few comments coming in. We've got Ben Moore. Last week, Big Pompey was a Chopra goal, 1 on the duel from memory. 3-1 lost, never from memory. You've Googled that. Mark Dowling, I picked that because no one would ever say duel in a game. Mark Dowling, I picked that team. Also Burns for me. The good doctor agrees with that starting 11. Lee going to need 2.2 points per game. That's not going to happen. Simon Harris, how will the lads react if we score the first goal? Normally we can see within minutes. Need to keep our shape and lock it in. Colin, no good supporting a club if people think we're going to lose. I don't see the point at all. Colin thinks we're going to win every single game. Bless him. Mark, Cook said he was going to rotate the squad before the Cambridge game. Good point. So we could see some changes tomorrow. Speaking of which, we've got a great question here from Gareth Cook, and you've both gone for Hadladki in goal. But he says, would you give Holy a crack? Crack. Slip of the tongue. I said crap. Because to be fair, both are a bit wild sometimes. I wonder if Holy may be a good change. Maybe not Holy, but if Walton is fit, do you put Walton in? You've both gone for Hadladki. Ash, you're shaking your head there quite passionately.
The way I see it, right, is Holy couldn't, he couldn't save. I've said this before. He couldn't save a game of FIFA on autosave. He's just not good. Keep him away from the squad, in my opinion. It was never the management's intention to keep Holy in this season. We just couldn't get rid of him, I think, was the thing. Walton's come in, and whilst I'd like him to play and be that stalwart that was part of Blackburn's side last season, he's had the worst debut I think any goalkeeper in the history of Ipswich Town Football Club has ever had, conceding 5 goals. And they were really poor goals. All 5 of them were poor goals for a goalkeeper to concede. So Hadladki for me, even though he concedes goals, he's like a level goalkeeper. I don't think he can get any better or any. We certainly don't want to get worse. That's my opinion.
No, you don't want to get worse. No. In fact, I think there was a Sunday league team that got beat 40-0 at the weekend on 39-0. Maybe they loaned Holy. I don't know. Lewis Robertson, would you recall Simpson in January given his Swindon form, George? Surely a better bench option than Caden Jackson. You leave my Caden Jackson alone, George. Torres Simpson. Yeah,
Piggott's probably a better bench option than Caden Jackson, as is arguably James Norwood. So fair play to Simpson. I think if he can get a whole season and maintain that form, then good on him. But I wouldn't bring him back at the moment because no one's going to replace Bon unless Bon goes in January. But I think we already have better bench options than Caden Jackson is my gut instinct.
Okay. Lee Bayliss, I stick a bin in goal, do a better job than Holy. That reminds me, my bins need taken out tonight. James B, putting those graphics up on the screen with possible teams. Unbelievable what good players we have to choose from. And that's probably where a lot of the frustration for a lot of the fans that we talked about earlier, Ash, comes from, is the fact that you've got this unbelievable amount of riches for the first time in a long time. Even maybe, Evans didn't support Keane as well as this. Like, there was issues with the first team, holes. You look 1 to 11, 1 to 22. There's a lot. It's an embarrassment. That front 7 that you could rotate. It is an embarrassing riches for League One, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a great caliber of player. I think what we miss is that team like camaraderie. They're all chucked together, and they're made to be a team at this moment in time. And it does take a real long time to come together and become that team that is going to challenge for the likes of playoffs or promotions that everyone, seems to want. But we need to be realistic. If we scrape playoffs this season, it'd be brilliant. But I'd like to see us do well with this squad, but I think they need time. They need time to be a team, and that's only going to come through losing games, poor performances. And, whilst I hope that's a really quick transition, it's not going to be until we learn how to play with each other. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. James Norwood, let's touch on that subject as we sort of round up the show. Obviously, coming on air tonight, I'm told he's deleted his Twitter account. I don't know how reliable that information is, but I trust the person who's told me it. So I believe it to be true. If true, big if true. What are our thoughts on this one? Obviously, wasn't included in the matchday squad. Lots of different things flying about last night. Where are you both? George, where are you on James Norwood and maybe deleting Twitter? What's all that about?
To be honest with you, I've not been on Twitter too much over the last few days, so I don't know what may or may not have happened to James Norwood. I know there's been some things floating around like his position at the club and things, but how much truth there may or may not be in those rumours, who knows? I feel really sad when I think about James Norwood's Ipswich Town career, because he came in on so much promise and did well for himself for a little while, and it's just not worked out for one reason or another. And I think he's as much to blame for that as anyone else on and off the pitch. So I think he's going to be one of those that we have to just wish well, and I'm sure in January he'll find a home somewhere. But it certainly doesn't feel like he has a position at Ipswich at the moment, judging by how he's being left out of the squad every week.
Ash, a real Marmite character. We sort of touched on it earlier. Had a big crowd of support when he first arrived. What are your thoughts on it?
I met James when I was doing some work for the PFA back in August 2019, after he scored, I think he scored 5 goals in his opening 4 games. And at the time, real humble bloke. And I can't say a bad word about him, but obviously I feel his behaviour as a, he's one of them players that children will look up to and think, I want to be, like Norwood. The last couple of years, I want to be Norwood. Do you know what I mean? That was the kind of player we were looking up to, a real role model, I guess. But his behaviour is not that of a role model. And I think personally he may have some personal issues, maybe to do with injuries. And it's just got too much. And to be honest, the bloke can't even breathe at the moment without fans being on his back. And, I think it's the old adage. We just need to, take a breather and remember that these people are humans, not just footballers. Yes, they get paid to do it. But, do you have people on your back screaming at you every single day?
Yes, yes, I fucking do. But you've done the role, you do.
In the volume that we're talking about, it's huge, and I find that his mentality does suit a club of smaller stature. Yeah. Tranmere was perfect for him. I think you'll find a team equally around that setting, maybe League Two, where he can really, put down his boots for the last couple of years of his career and actually make a go of it. But, clearly Ipswich Town isn't where it's going to, play out his career, because we've replaced him, 3 times over. We've got players, Tyree Simpson, like we mentioned there, has a good season in League Two. He's going to be coming back in. If we don't loan him out again, he'll be coming back into this squad and he'll be fighting for a position. And Tyree Simpson is going to be fit. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Tuxford, Norwood's a loose cannon. And the main issue is that he needs to be the main man to be effective. A very good player at this level. Stephen Parry said taxi for Tranmere. Lewis plays human too, regardless of what has happened previously. If he is struggling in any way then he needs the club support. Carl Brooks normally will leave him on loan in January, see his contract out and be released at the end of the season. Heard it here first. Stephen Parry. I think the hype got to him. Now the down-to-earth guy from lower leagues, Vardy, like Vardy was, Chris Boyd. Norwich persona doesn't fit the new owners. He's from the old era. As I say, lots of Marmite. Lee Bayless, who cares? It's not worked out here, so long with Nolan. Jackson, he can go for me. Not lived up to expectation. Tranmere fans are desperate for him back. They think he's God. Very quickly, score predictions for tomorrow night then, fellas. Score predictions, please. What do we think? Ash.
3-1.
Oh!
Town.
So, in your world, it's a 3-1 tonight and a 3-1 on Saturday. 6 goals, 2 conceded. That would be a real corner being turned, that would. George, are you going to go toe for toe with the Symonds there and match the goals for, or are you going to go a little bit more, it's you, a little bit more conservative maybe, pull it back?
I hope I'm wrong, but I think we might get turned over.
There's always one, isn't there?
Oh, no, it's always just him. It's always just fucking him. This is why we let him loose with paintbrushes, ladies and gentlemen. Not
I said 3-0 at the weekend. How many do you want?
Well, to win 3-0.
I reckon it might be tight, but I think we'll lose 2-1. Sorry.
Well, that's not as bad as you first made it sound. You made it sound as though we have to go through a 3-4-0. Tuxford, #positivity. 2-1 says Colin Plum. 2-1 says Coxey. 2-1 says Lee Ballas. 2-1 says Matt. Hart says 1-1 says Money. Head says 2-0. Pompey. Kevin Gates 3-2 Town. I like this mix in the chat because normally there's a mix in the chat we normally win. It's when it's all one way. It's a Northampton disaster. The Good Doctor 1-2. 2-0 up. Concede on an annoying one in the 96th minute. Carl Brooks, depending on what town turns up. If it's the first half of Cambridge, I think we beat them with ease 3-1. If it's the second half of Cambridge, we lose 3-1. 2-2 says to Stannard. George, go and put the Govs bins out for him. Absolutely, George, put those bins out and bod the nod. 4-4 after going up. I said I'd come back to it, and I will. Lee's question from earlier on in the show. Who do you want as manager if Cook was to leave? Ash can make this very simple on himself. He can say, I don't want Cook to leave, so I don't have to answer that question.
No, I think we should just go into administration if we have to look for another manager. There's no point.
Wind the club up. Not a point. Wind it up. Let's all play fantasy football on a Saturday instead. George,
you know how I feel about this. I'm not a management recruiter, so I don't pretend to know who is available that's better than what we have. But I suspect other people do.
George Nunn, recruitment services. You are not. Is that what you're telling me, George? You are not a recruitment agency.
That is another thing. I'm not. Yeah. But no, I honestly don't know who I'd replace Cook with. But yeah, like I say, I'm just losing.
Matt says, if we get another manager, can we agree not to have one called Paul?
Yeah. Look, one last point I want to raise before we go. The Cowleys got so much praise going into Pompey, but if you'd seen the comments in their fans forums this week, they want them gone. They don't want them there anymore, and it's just the same mentality. Like the quick fixes. There is no such thing as a quick fix in football, unfortunately. We just have to stick at it and keep going.
Absolutely. Wise words there from Mr. Symonds. This has been a real pleasure. It really has. A really, really important and vital distraction for me, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you both for providing some wonderful insights. Great debate. The live chat has been absolutely zinging. Some wonderful comments in tonight. Don't forget you can support us through our Ko-Fi channels. That is Mr. Fanzone Ashley Symonds. That is the designer George Nunn. This is Talking Town, an FCA finalist presentation. We are back tomorrow, 7:15. Mr. Positivity, Mark Tuxford's cousin there, and Mr. Neil Moles back with the aficionado Stephen Thompson and myself for the matchday ticket. Portsmouth, a game I think we must win, quite frankly, but that's just me. I'm just the host. I'm not paid for the opinions. But we are back tomorrow, as I say, 7:15. Thanks to you both. Thanks for the live chat, and we'll catch you on the other side with love.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better.